All right, everyone, welcome to Local Profit Webinar Breakthrough. Excuse me, Local Profit Breakthrough. Today's webinar is October the 6th of 2016. This week we have a really special guest on. And one thing I love about LPB and LCT is all of the skill sets that we have. Different individuals with different skills. There's someone on the bridge here today with who can write songs. And that's incredible. From video people to people that make things more efficient, to people in sales, to videos. I mean, it's just amazing, all of the talent that we have in here. And one thing I've noticed in my relatively short time here in SEO is the amount of information that we actually have to process in order to do a good job, in order to make the clients happy, in order to get clients out there, in order to make some money, and then be able to scale without making yourself go crazy. That's one of the biggest things I think that most people have struggled with, because we all want to either be perfectionists or we want things to be done faster. We want to, I know, find the magic bullet, and sometimes there isn't a magic bullet. But today's special guest is someone I actually have a bit of a man crush on, to be honest. Is a man that I noticed coming into LCT a long time ago, and he was always dropping in tips and tricks and had these things called cheat guides. And I'm all about cheating, legally cheating. So this gentleman you're about to be introduced to is truly an inspiration to me over the years, and over the past, over the past year. He doesn't know it, but I've actually been inspired to do lots of great things just because of the stuff that he puts out there and the value he provides to the community. So without further ado, I'm going to just turn this over to our next presenter, who is none other than the one and only great Stuart Trier from Canada. So say hi, Stuart.
How's it going, guys?
Awesome. And let me go ahead and make you the presenter.
Okay.
Let's see here. Make presenter. All right, fantastic. So you should now be the presenter.
Okay, let me know if you can see my screen.
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, I'm just gonna switch it over
Perfect.
here. All right, guys, so today I'm just gonna talk to you about a principle to accelerate your success in SEO or pretty much any business, but we're gonna be focused on SEO businesses today, obviously for this group. So here's my why. It's often said start with why. So for me, it's my wife, my kids, enjoying kind of the simple pleasures in life, time with friends, time to enjoy kind of what I do. And I'm not really chasing zeros anymore at this point in my life, although my bank account's open, so if anyone wants to send me money, feel free. I'm accepting for sure. So quick background. I started out of university. I started a tool business with a partner, and we scaled that business from zero, put in about $2,500 each, and by our fourth year, we were doing $8 million in sales. So that was a huge learning experience, especially at 22. So that was great. And then from there, while I was in that business, I started a foot care business and transitioned into the foot care business beginning of 2009. And I sold the tool business. And I was in that foot care business for 12 months, built 26 clinics. I exited by selling it to a public company. It was just an opportune kind of sale, and I took it. I agreed to join their corporation thinking I'd be there just during the vest period, which was only 12 months. And I ended up spending 5 years there. I got 40% pay increase year over year for 5 years, learned a ton. I ended my career there as a VP, executive VP and it was about a $100 million business. So that was a great learning experience. And then I started an SEO business kind of as I took on that corporate job. Right around 2010, and I kind of kept that as a side hustle for 5 years. So that's kind of my background in terms of what I've done. Definitely my interest lies in accelerating businesses, rapidly growing businesses, that kind of thing.
Yeah, no kidding, huh?
Well, from a process standpoint, that's what I'm into for sure.
Yeah. So what got you interested in SEO in the first place? I mean, moving from multi-million-dollar healthcare business and 0 to 8 million in sales in 4 years, why mess around with this little SEO business?
So when I got into the foot care business, I was doing orthotics, and one of the ways that I was able to scale that business was partners, which is definitely another common trend amongst everything that I do. I look for partners to kind of really I guess, fill in the gaps for what I'm not good at and just accelerate the growth. So here in Canada, one of the people that prescribe orthotics are family doctors or primary care physicians. And so what I did is I went out and I partnered with large groups of family physicians. I said I would use their offices because most of them don't work 5 days a week in exchange for 25% of whatever revenue I brought in, that would be their rent. So they were extremely motivated to send their clients to us. Um, and with that model, we were able to grow at 30, 40% a month, easy, which caught the eye of that public corporation. But one of the
Hmm.
things that I was doing on the side was I was playing with search engine optimization to bring in additional leads for the foot care business outside of the network of physicians that were referring. So it kind of started that way. I was part of a business group, and one of the people in the business group asked, would you be able to help me with my business? And that led to, them recommending me to another and then recommending me another, which is why it kind of grew as a side hustle. And it really wasn't something that I was focused on, but I happened to have a lot of friends that owned businesses. And, before I knew it, I'd have 10, 15 clients as a quote unquote side hustle.
Nice. It's a pretty
Yeah.
nice side hustle.
So,
Yeah.
so that's how it started. Um, and kind of continued. So if I had to pick one common denominator for my success, I definitely say it's the principle of 80/20. Um, I'm curious if you guys out there, if you give me a one in the chat box if you've heard of 80/20, or a two if you don't know who this hipster with a beard is. Simon, I'm going to depend on you to tell me if there's any ones or twos because I can't
Yeah,
see it.
seeing a bunch of ones. So
Oh,
obviously I've heard of 80/20. They've been around LPB, LCT for any period of time. Yep, all ones across the board.
perfect. All right. So the principle, just review it, I guess, quickly is it states that for many events, roughly 80% of the effects come from 20% of the causes. So what does this mean for you as a business owner? I always look for a way to leverage time, both at home and at work. And, this could be stated more or less at home. I don't want to do anything that's not a crucial task, right? So in my house, I'm definitely an extremist with outsourcing. Like I don't know anyone that outsources as much as I do. I don't do my own cleaning. We don't do our own groceries. We don't do our own laundry. We don't do our own ironing. We don't cut our grass. We don't shovel our snow. We have people to open the pool, people to clean the backyard, people to do our gardening. Anything that like could be outsourced at what I deem to be a lower cost than what my wife's time or my time is worth gets handed off to somebody else. We have a live-in nanny, but that's I'm very cautious not to include that in because my time with my kids or my family as a whole is very important. But because my wife and I both work, we have a live-in nanny who's actually moved from city to city with us, so she's obviously happy with her job as well. Um, and then I have all kinds of systems for home. I mean, we have a date night once a week, again, set up. There's no question. Babysitters there every week. It happens. No excuses. And, on the weekends, we really don't have any chores to do. So it's all playtime. So I play with my kids in the morning. I watch them before I hand them off to the nanny, and then same at night. And then the weekends are kind of ours to do what we want to do. Okay, enough about that. Back to the principle. So simply put, means that in all areas of your business and life, certain activities drive a disproportionate amount of your results. So the real key is to spend some time reflecting on what those activities are. So in your SEO business, 30 things you need to get done in your business. It's likely that 6 of them drive 80% of the results and 24 of them drive, the 20% of results. So knowing that, what would you spend your time working on? So a lot of entrepreneurs, they don't differentiate between the critical few and the trivial many, right? So they remember, they kind of think of it as, how do I save time, right? But time is the only resource that we all have equally, right? Like you, me, Bill Gates, we all have 24 hours in a day. It's just really how we allocate that time. And we need to become way more extreme about thinking what we spend our time on and what we hand off to other people, because that's really what it comes down to, how effectively we can manage our time. So I just wanted to kind of present my thoughts on, I guess, SEO business and how approximately the 4 stages break out. So I put stage number 1 as employee with SEO as a side hustle, because a lot of people get into it. They have like a full-time job and then they're doing it on the side. And then stage 2, full-time SEO. Stage 3 is what I'd call a leveraged SEO consultant, where you're still doing some of the work, but you've got a team around you. And then agency, you're really just focused on strategy and the higher level activities. You're not actually working in the business, you're working on the business. So maybe in the chat box, pick the stage you're at and give it to Simon so he can kind of give us an idea of where people are at in this equation.
All right, seeing some 2s, some 1s.
Yeah.
See, I've got 1s and 2s so far. Yeah, looks like we're all 1s and 2s. Any advance on 2?
Okay, perfect.
Okay, yeah, 1s and 2s for the most part here.
Okay. All right, so employee is the best place to start.
Oh no, what's this?
What's going on?
Oh, what's this over here? Is it a cubicle? Oh no.
I thought my screen died.
Oh no. No. It's worse than that.
So for employees, best place to start. Every business I've started while I've been in either an employee at somebody else's business or while I was running my own business, but I leveraged the paycheck to scale to be able to scale my business and accelerate the growth. A lot of people want to jump in and they struggle because the business makes a little bit of money, but they really don't have the capital to kind of reinvest to accelerate that growth. So if you have a job, don't think of it as a negative, think of it as a positive, because it really gives you an opportunity to focus and reinvest the money that you're making in your business to scale your business. And we're going to go through how to quickly do that. So starting as an employee, you got your 40 hours a week that you're working for the man or the woman, be politically correct. You're making that steady paycheck. You're spending somewhere between 10, 15 hours on your SEO business, or as Gary Vee likes to say, on the side hustle. So here's where we want to take a step back and be objective, right? What are we looking to do? We're looking to fire your boss and run your own SEO business. That's the objective at this stage for a lot of people that are kind of doing it as a side hustle, right? So before we get to that, I wanted to kind of differentiate, get a clear objective. Do you want to be an entrepreneur or do you want to be a technician? And these are very different things. And they, the approach that you're going to take really differentiates based on what you want to do. So I did College Pro in university, so I use College Pro as an example. So when you're running a painting business, you don't spend, College Pro gives you a weekend to learn how to paint, and then they give you 3 months of training on how to sell, because you're running a business. They're teaching you to run a business, so they're teaching you how to sell paint jobs. They're not teaching you how to paint. The guys around you there are the ones that are going to paint the house. It's very easy to find a painter, get them trained up, and let them teach. Some reason in the SEO business, a lot of people take a much different perspective, and they spend a huge amount of time watching webinars and getting caught up in becoming what is the best SEO, quote unquote. Don't know what that is, but everybody seems to be targeting becoming the best SEO, where we've already established that we want to make enough money in our SEO business so we can fire our boss. So one perspective is to really understand that your objective isn't to become the best SEO, it's to be the best entrepreneur running an SEO business.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, one of the downsides to LPB, I mean, there are so many videos. I mean, I've lost count. There's way over, I'd say 200 videos in there right now, and I've lost count. I certainly haven't watched them all, but it's tempting to just sit back and watch all the webinars, all the videos, and then you get stuck doing nothing. You're just in learning mode. And I think that, and that's one thing I had to learn early on, is that I know there's a ton of videos out there to watch, but I need to go out and practice what I'm learning before, so I can be good. I don't want to be a derelict, well-educated person. I want to be able to take this knowledge and implement it and go make some money and go build a business. And that's truly a good point. Yeah, exactly, Connor. Analysis paralysis. That's for sure.
We all get caught up in this, and this is not unique to the SEO business. This is, a lot of businesses kind of look at it this way. But in the SEO business, there's all these demands on our time, especially during the side hustle. You want to learn the SEO because you don't want to look foolish in front of customers. You want to set up your website, you want to get your logo, you want to watch more webinars, you want to buy the fancy new computer, determine optimal keywords to target, examine backlinks, stay on the latest and shiny object that whatever is getting pumped and dumped that week. And again, there's no knocking that you want to learn at this stage, but it's not what's going to get you to the next stage the quickest. So if you're applying the principle of 80-20, where 20% is going to push you to the next stage, you know, in your side hustle, your objective is to replace your salary. What should you be spending the majority of your time on? If you have 10 or 15 hours a week, you know, the majority of it should be on landing clients. It's just that simple. It's tough, and like, I get it. There's, you know, a lot of competing distractions, but that's really, if you want to power through that really quickly, it's landing clients. You know, through it up here, master this, you can move on, always be closing. If you're focusing on the closing of sales, you're getting to learn on other people's money, right? Your clients are paying you to learn SEO, and that's the situation you want to be in. And I'm definitely not a proponent of take people's money and don't deliver, so don't misunderstand it. But when you have a budget, it's a lot easier to focus on that. It's a lot easier to pay for help. It's a lot easier to delegate. So your SEO side hustle.
Not only that, sorry for interrupting, it's also a great motivator. Now you have to go, oh, I need to get this. Like my very first client, he came on board for, I think, $5.95. He's still with me today. And he loves everything I do. But in the beginning, I really didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I knew basics. I had to learn everything else, but it forced me. I mean, it was one of the best things that happened to me. It forced me to learn, what do I need to do this week in order to not get fired? And I couldn't sit there watching webinars. That wouldn't get me any results. So I had to take something I learned, like yesterday, and then go implement it and see if it made a difference. So for me, that was the best thing that ever happened. You know, I could have easily still be sitting here today watching webinars, but but that wouldn't make us any money, and that wouldn't help. And here's the thing I operate from is I'm not out there just to make money as an SEO. I'm out there to help a local business increase their revenue, have them, I mean, make it a win-win. So I'm doing it for them. I'm almost like their business partner in a way. So yeah, I mean, absolutely, just go ahead and find yourself. I mean, the worst position you could be in is finding yourself with a client and you don't know what to do. Then you have a fire underneath you, and you get to work. And it's a huge, huge motivator.
Absolutely. And again, at this stage of the business, you're really trying to figure out your optimal selling strategy. So how to find clients, how to get them to pay you. Because if you can't do this, who cares if you can rank a website, right? Like, you don't want to be in a situation where you can rank a website but you can't sell to the clients that are buying, because then what ends up happening is you get stuck in this, like, you know, this hell business where you have 3 clients and you're making $2,000 and all you're doing is working on that, but you can't get other clients. So really, at this stage, your main focus should be on the optimal selling strategy, which is just the most effective way to attract, convert new front-end clients to come into your business. This is where you're testing your tripwire offers. This is where you're trying all kinds of systems to bring new people through the door. And then once you do that, you're able to deliver the value. So then that moves you to the next stage. Once you've got your optimal selling strategy, it's really easy to scale up your revenue so you can get to the point of firing your boss, right? I mean, everybody starts at different points. Everyone's job pays them differently. You know, maybe you make $3,000, maybe you make 5, maybe you make 10, whatever the number is. The reality is, if you can sell your SEO service, you're going to be in a situation where you're going to be able to fire your boss sooner rather than later. On a side note, I'd say don't burn any bridges. I've had past employers who have sent me work, become clients, who've provided references. So I always say leave on good terms, even though I draw that little face there. Okay, so
when I saw that, one of the first things I thought of was the Dilbert cartoons.
There you go.
Yeah.
So full-time SEO. So that's where a lot of people kind of get to, and this is where a lot of people kind of, you know, get stuck. So here you're newly self-employed or very close to it. You have some reoccurring clients, so you're making some money. Hopefully you have an optimal selling strategy so you can scale that up when you're ready to. But what's the objective at this stage if you want to power through this and get to the leverage stage? How do you go from doing everything on your own to leveraging employees and VAs to do the work, right? And I mean, one issue that happens here, that people run into, and I've seen and talked to people. They go so far in terms of selling, but every new client means more work. They don't have a system to hand that work off to anyone, so it's it almost could create a situation where bringing in clients is a bad thing because it just means more and more work. I've had this happen in my business when I first came back to it full time after I left my corporate job. I was able to sell, and I was doing the work. It wasn't a good situation. So at this point you're juggling, right? You're juggling your lead generation, your operations, your billing, your reporting. Everything's kind of going at the same time. So here's the big challenge that a lot of us have is just juggling all those competing priorities, and throw in your learning and webinars in there as well. So
here's the other thing that let me see if anyone in the room here is a perfectionist. Like I know I am. Everything has to be right. And one of the problems I faced early on, and I'm still struggling with it, is I'm a real big perfectionist because I know I can do the work, but I can't. Can I trust anyone else to do the work as good as I can? Is there anyone else in here, or is it just me that's a perfectionist? It's I know it's a double-edged sword.
I'm married to one. I affectionately say my wife is type A on crack, and I have now got her into the whole outsourcing mindset, but it's always been an issue with us. She's always concerned that someone's not going to do it as well as her, and I'm like, honey, you're right. They won't, but they'll do it for $12. You won't. So, it may not be perfect, but you don't got to do it. And, the last person we hired works for us only 5 hours a week, but my wife was doing all of those 5 hours a week. And 5 times 50 is 250 hours. It costs us somewhere around $2,800 a year to give her 250 hours back.
Exactly. Yeah. So watch out if you are, or if you think you're a perfectionist, then you have to stop it. Seriously. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so as an SEO consultant, you may feel you have a long list of things to do. In fact, you have a long list of things to do. You have to increase your SEO learning because at this point you're still doing all of the stuff. You're managing and delivering client work. Hopefully you still got lead generation happening, so that pipe has to be full. And you're hiring and training others to help, right? At this point or this stage, you're starting to have the cash flow where you can bring other people in. But a lot of the issues you're going to run into are, how do you get them to come into the business? How do you train them? How do you keep the quality where you want it to be? So you're likely working harder. You're making more money, which is great. But at this point, it's pure effort, right? So up to a certain level, you could power through, right? Like this guy, I mean, he looks pretty strong. You throw another plate on each side, and he's going to crack. And that's essentially what happens in businesses as well. You can only go so far. Some people can do 5K a month, some people can do 7, some people can do 10. Maybe you can even do 15K a month on your own where you're doing all the work. But this is just simply work ethic where you're putting in a lot of effort relative to the effort you should be putting in. So at this stage, we want to bring on an employee or a VA to help manage your growing pile of work. So how do you hire and train them? That's the big question in every business, but specifically SEO, where we think our work is so technical and complicated. People have issue right there, and then maintaining the quality and managing them. So at this stage, you want to invest some time and energy in building a system and a process so that the business can really push through more work, right? So if you take a step off the accelerator in terms of bringing on new clients, and you kind of pause on that and you double down the hours. So you might have to put in an extra 10 or 15 hours to document the steps that you're currently doing. It's going to pay off huge for you. So while I focused on less is really like, I only want to do the 20% of driving my business. I don't actually want to be working in the business. So again, I wanted to be able to delegate work at this point. I wanted to hire VAs. I wanted to maintain the quality and deliver results. So I went to work on building the process maps for everything we were doing in our business, starting with the most repetitive tasks, things like setting up social accounts, creating Google My Map, White Spark citations, really everything that's task related and is fairly simple, it's a nice place to start because you can start handing that stuff off very easily, and it'll be really easy to manage quality and training if you kind of follow a similar process and or take what I'm doing and bring it to another level.
I'm
So for
just
free, yeah,
curious
go ahead.
here, Stuart. Sorry for interrupting. So you joined the LPB group what about a year ago now,
October of last year, yeah. So about
right?
just about a year.
So as you went through that material, first of all, there's a ton of it, right? And then what's kind of your thought process on this? Do you like write everything down with a pen and paper to write everything down, or do you? I mean, there's so much information in there. What's your process or your thought process to take all that information and put it into a process that you can basically outsource to your VAs?
So again, coming back to what I would say my unique ability is, or at least my competitive advantage as I see it, I take in a lot of information. I'm 50 plus books a year. When I'm reading for what's applicable to my business. So when I was going through LPB, I'm not watching the webinar like sitting there passively. I've got Evernote open or I've got a notebook open and I'm taking notes, but I'm taking detailed step-by-step notes, right? I don't want to invest my hour of time and then have to go back and rewatch it. And the way my mind works anyways, the last thing I want to do is have to go do the work. So when, they released their Google My Business process, the initial one, I think there were like 17 steps that needed to happen. And my whole time, all I did was pause, write down the step, screencast the step. I had detailed notes for myself, and then I went back and built process maps. And as soon as I did that, I never did it again, right? And then my team, they stay on it. And if there's a change in the flow from what Google has done, they update my process map for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I was to replay that, basically you watch one of their, or it may have not been just one, it may have been a couple of their both very closely related. You would watch the video and then go ahead and document that, write it down in your own words with screen captures. So you're basically going through this as a dry run, the actual steps, so that you can pass this off to someone else. Rather than, and I'm guilty of this too, I'd watch it, and then I'd watch it again. Oh, I need to, and I'd understand it, but then I never really took the time to write it down until after about the third time when I watched it. And then when I did that, when I started to write it down, either pen and paper, I mean, you don't have to be that, if you're doing it for yourself, you don't have to be that technical, like with Evernote and the stuff like that, but just the process of writing it down. I can't, I can't tell you how powerful that is, how you can ingrain that knowledge very, very solidly just by writing it down and going through the steps yourself. That's super, super powerful.
100%, and or build a checklist. I mean, there's so many moving parts that happen when you're watching a webinar, and there's some things that, not necessarily in this group, but in other groups where you're watching a webinar, and there's just like a base knowledge that is taken for granted. So if you're looking to take that information and hand it off to somebody else, you can't assume they have the same base knowledge that you have. So really, you've got to take a step back and say, how am I going to teach this? All right. And when you're looking at it from that mindset, you're kind of transitioning. It's not just, do I get this passively? It's how am I going to break this down into the appropriate steps for somebody else to be able to repeat this process? Because if you can't repeat it, you can't scale complicated, right? Like, it has to be simple. You look at something like McDonald's as a prime example, right? They don't have the best burger in the world, but there's no better burger company in the world. And the reason that is because they could take a 16-year-old kid in China, in India, in New York City, in Toronto, anywhere in the world, and they're going to make a Big Mac the exact same way because it's the process. They've simplified the process and made it dummy-proof so that they don't care if that 16-year-old quits. The next 16-year-old comes in and makes a Big Mac exactly the same. You want to do that with your business. If you do, you have no problem scaling. You're just, how many clients can you push through your business?
So doesn't this take some time to create these cheat guides or this process sheets?
It
I mean, who has
does.
time for that?
Right. So this is the rub, right? This is the problem and why people don't do it. They think that they're getting quicker. It's kind of like thinking, "Hey, I'm gonna walk rather than build a bike." You're keeping moving by walking, but as soon as the bike's done, I'm gonna fly by you, right? So you've got to understand that you're taking a step back, you're taking a foot off the accelerator in terms of bringing in new clients so that you can process, so you can document your process, so that you can break it down, so that you can make it into a simple transfer of knowledge for other people. And when I say VA, virtual assistant, I don't have any employees in my company that work in my office, mostly because I've moved around just because of my wife's career. And it works perfectly. My virtual assistant, I have virtual assistants who make, 20, 25 US an hour, and then I have virtual assistants who cost me $2.50 an hour. They're in different parts of the world, obviously, but you can hire smart people and they can still be working virtually for you. And when you're breaking out your process, there are certain tasks that are going to require somebody to have a very strong understanding of the English language. For instance, everything that I have written, I use Masters of English locally. So in Canada, somebody that has a Masters in English, you'd be surprised how cheap people work with that degree. There's just not a huge demand for them in the market unless they're going to go do a PhD and teach English. So you can pick those people up fairly cheaply, and you can get really high quality content. They tend to be really good researchers. So there's a lot of things that you can do using virtual assistants. You just need to know what level you want to hire. And the better you break down your tasks, the easier it is to assign, hey, this is what it should cost.
So let me ask you a question here, Stuart,
Sure.
about these people that write the articles, because we all hear about on page. Like on page, you get your on page right. That's the foundation for a successful page one, like having your website show up on page one. You gotta have your content done. It's an essential part of your on page content. But the problem that I face is that even though I can find some good writers, they don't optimize it to my liking. Like they don't know about anchor text. So now I find myself taking the content, optimizing it, spending another hour of my time SEOing it, quote unquote. So do you have any suggestions for that?
Yeah. So once again, you're you know how to do it, and now the challenge is you need to take a step back and be able to teach somebody how to do it. Right? So you have a process. So there's two issues here. One, you may be, type A on crack and you'll never be happy with anyone else's work. And if that's the case, that's a different issue, right? But really what needs to happen is you need to come up with a process that says, this is how I want it done, right? And this is the method to my madness, if you really have a method. Now, if you take somebody who's got a master's in English and you can't explain to them what you want them to do in writing, then you don't have a clear, concise vision for what you want yet. Mostly because you haven't sat down and thought about it. I mean, obviously you will be able to systematize your process. You're doing something, you have a process, you just don't have a documented process. So you can't hand it off to them, you can't train them, you can't even debrief with them to tell them what they've done wrong. So your answer is to go do the work yourself, but that's not scalable. I can't put 100 more clients through your business because you'll die.
That's so true. Yep.
So you've got to, this is where I said earlier, you've got to decide whether you want to be the SEO or you want to be the entrepreneur. As an SEO, what you're doing is right? You want to become better and better at your craft. You're the technical guy. But if you're an entrepreneur, you got to work on the system because your job as the entrepreneur is to build the system. Ultimately, the end goal is that you have a sellable business, and people only buy businesses that have systems in place that operate without the entrepreneur, right? So if you build a business that they don't need you there and is going to continue to attract new clients, provide quality work, continue to generate revenue and grow, people are writing checks for those businesses. That's how you get paid.
That if we could like pause right there and like highlight, and underline, and bold that last sentence that you said, I don't know if it's one thing that you listen to a webinar and some of these phrases just kind of go by because it's just part of people speaking. But that one point there could make you millions and millions and millions of dollars or whichever currency you're in. There's a book that someone in, I think it was at LCT mentioned a while back. It was called Built to Sell, I think it was.
Yep.
And they were basically saying that book basically said, hey, look, structure your business so that it can operate without you, so that you can step away, and then it also grows without you as well. So you have people bringing in leads, people doing the work, people doing the QA, everything, and you can step away, and ultimately you can actually turn around and sell that to someone else as a going concern because you're making money each month, it's profitable. People will buy into those businesses. They see the value. But if you have to be there to check everything that comes in, be the QA person or be the person that the customers call or the clients call when there's an issue, if you have to be there and if you get hit by a bus or get sick and stuff stops, then you have to step back and see what's causing that slowdown and why you're that cog in the wheel and how you can replace yourself. So, I mean, that there is gold. When I read that book and I understood what they were saying, it made a huge amount of difference. And you can't do that if you're the guy running the show. So really, really good point.
And you know, you may be sitting in a different spot where you're saying, hey, I don't want to sell my business. That's great. But you still want to own a business that can operate without you because that allows you to go on that month vacation, or that allows you to, you know, if you know a parent gets sick, you can hop on a plane. Whatever the case may be, it just gives you that freedom, and you still have that amount of cash coming in every month.
Mm-hmm.
So it is definitely key. So SEOcheatguides.com, free downloads. Just to give you a bunch of examples of our process maps. This is not all of my process maps by any means. These are just the ones I've given away free in the SEO Cheat Guides. Little shout out to LCT. SEO Cheat Guides really only came about because I posted some of my actual guides in the group, and I think the first time I gave away 2 guides or 3 guides, something like 400 people commented and liked the post, which really is the reason I started SEO Cheat Guides. So special shout out to LCT for sure for that. You can follow us on Facebook. The group has something like 33 or 3,400 SEOs in there. And we try to give away a bunch of free content there as well. So let's look at an example just so you can kind of see how you can break down a process. So, I mean, we guide ours up in SEO Cheat Guides. I actually do it for my business too, but I don't brand it SEO Cheat Guides in my actual marketing business, obviously. But this is just an example. So what we do on the first page of our guides, both for SEO Cheat Guides and in my business, is summarize what information is going to be required in the task. Because as you can imagine, as you process map your whole business, you're going to end up with a lot of guides, right, for people, and you want to just summarize what information you're going to need to provide, or your team lead is going to need to provide to the virtual assistant in order for them to fulfill that particular task. So you summarize that at the top, and then we go through and we literally give them the step-by-step screencast, what button to press, what to do, so there's no ambiguity. So even if I bring somebody in at $2.50 an hour in the Philippines, as long as they can read, which they certainly can, they can follow this. So it takes care of a ton of issues that we have at this stage in the business. Number one, how do you hire and train? Well, you don't have to spend a lot of time worrying about hiring and training because you've got a step-by-step process map that walks them through exactly what you want them to do on the task. You don't really need to worry about quality control because as long as it's binary, either they followed the guide or they didn't. Right? So we do check their work in the beginning, but the reality of it is the VAs love this because it takes away any ambiguity. They literally open it up and follow step by step and then check it off that it's done at the end. And then if this VA leaves, it's like the McDonald's example. The next 16-year-old can step in and do it exactly the same because it's guided up step by step. It's your process, but it's just broken down into tasks. You hand it off task by task. There's security issues that you want to make sure you take care of, so I don't give any one VA a whole process. So it's not like, hey, you know, you're going to do my whole GMB process. No, that doesn't happen. I don't give it out to the same people. I break it down into steps. Another issue you're going to run into, or you may be thinking, oh, that's great, but how do you control security? I use LastPass. I think it's $9 a month. Sorry, $9 a year. And I have all of my passwords for clients' websites, for all of our Gmail accounts, for literally everything we do is in there. And then my admin assistant assigns out what they're going to have access to. So if we give a VA a job, we give them access to whatever they need, and then we can pull that access. So they never actually get the login information for the website. They only get access to LastPass, which fills in the information for them. And then if we want to kick them off, we just take them off our LastPass. So from a security issue, there's really no risk. And it's free for your VAs to use. You pay the $9 a year, maybe it's $12 a year, but really cheap.
I've never heard of LastPass before, so I went to the website. Is it lastpass.com?
LastPass.com, yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, definitely worth checking out. I mean, for those of you that manage a ton of sites, it's one of those things where it's a pain in the butt, especially if you give somebody access to a ton and then you have an issue with them and they leave and you want to go change everything. You got to log into them all. This is one login, manages everything.
Oh my gosh! I've been keeping these in different Excel or Google Sheet documents. Like,
80/20.
I know, like I lost one and I can't find it for the life of me.
Right.
I'm pretty organized, like so I've got so many passwords, all these IFTTT accounts and everything. I don't know how many passwords and different accounts I have, so I'll have to go check out this LastPass.
Yes. So you use this, and there's a couple of nice things in it. LastPass, you have to have your master password, but you can use it on any computer. You can change all of the passwords, so it could create the passwords for you. It's got a ton of functionality, and it's definitely worth checking out. And for the $10 a year, I mean,
Really?
I don't
Yeah.
think there's a better value out there. So we do this for every task, right? So we break it down step by step, and this really just allows us to hand stuff off super easy. Yes, it's a pain in the ass in the beginning. Yes, it's going to take you some time to put together your system, but this is what's going to allow you to transition from SEO, where you essentially have a job. Maybe you serve 10 clients instead of one boss, but that's your job. You do all the work. This allows it to become a business where you're basically leveraging other people's time, which is what you want. You want to be making money on other people's time. You want to be making arbitrage on employees in different parts of the world. So this is what has allowed me to do it and really transform my business from work, which I'm quite averse to just a lifestyle business that kind of allows me to do what I want to do and play a lot. Okay, so I built these guides for every task. I'd pick a process like onboarding or Google My Business, the 3-pack. I'd break it down. So, LCB is a great course. It gives you a ton of information. You could literally just go through their course and then task by task create those guides and then hand that off to a VA, and they would be able to replicate that. So if you built just that, so if you were just going to focus on maps and you kind of built out your whole system, you would all day long, your only thing that you would be worried about would be getting more clients for maps. And you could literally use VAs at $3, $4 an hour to fulfill it. And LastPass to control the passwords, and you would put in place that whole system. And now you're a marketer. Your only job is to get more clients. And you're an entrepreneur, and you're not doing the work. You're just driving the business. So then you hire your VAs. Your training's done. You assign it to them. And really all I do is I assign it. I use Trello. I love Trello. I assign all my work. All my VAs are on Trello. I literally go in. I have a template for my whole system, and then I just, every time we get a new employee or a new customer, I just put the customer's name in. We go through the checklist of all of our processes. We need this one, this one, this one, this one, and we assign it out. And then they get the guide, they get the assignment, they get the due date, they follow up, they say it's done, it's all tracked, They get paid based on the tracking in Trello, and then I just sit back and I wait for them to complete it. And
Yeah,
once you've broken
Trello is
down your
awesome.
Yeah, and once you've broken down into your tasks and created your network of assistants, I use onlinejobs.ph to hire in the Philippines. It's $50 a month, maybe a little bit of a deal if you sign up 3 months at a time. Way better than Upwork, in my opinion. The quality is better. They're not getting stepped on by Upwork. You just get much better quality employees there, and they're generally cheaper and they're better quality, in my experience. And then, at this point, you've created an agency which is not only functions with or without you, but most importantly, it's sellable, right? Which is what we talked about earlier. And once you realize that, you simply can't do it all, and you put in all the necessary steps in place, the sky's the limit. And, at that point, you're not working for dollars. Dollars are working for you, and you can kind of 80-20 your life, where you can spend more of your time on the things you enjoy, right? I love business, so I don't want anyone to think like I don't enjoy coming to the office and doing things, but I also like reading. I like playing basketball. I like hanging with my kids. There's just other things that I want to do. I don't want to be sitting in front of the computer all day long working on someone's SEO. That's just not my thing. So, yeah. I don't know if we have any questions that you're happy to answer. You might have to read them out for me, Simon, but if anyone has any questions, happy to answer them.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, and if you have questions for Stuart, Stuart, I really appreciate you spending the time today. Trying to distill this knowledge into essentially 1 hour of PowerPoint, it's just an amazing accomplishment just to get all this information out here. It's a whole mindset. I don't know if you can ever get someone's mindset onto a PowerPoint. It might be impossible, but once you start implementing some of this, then you start to understand how people like you think. And I always like to think of myself as lazy. I used to have a boss that said one time that I was one of the laziest people he knew, which was a huge compliment. And it's been said that, what did Bill Gates say? It was something like, if you want to have it done fast or done right, hire a lazy person.
Yep. Smart and lazy. Smart and lazy. You want smart, lazy employees because they figure out the easiest, least resistant path to get the job done.
Yeah, absolutely. And by doing this, and like you mentioned earlier, this whole process of taking, let's say like the LPB3 pack, for example, that's 20 odd videos in there, 17 videos or something. Just by taking that and writing it down on a maybe an Excel, like here's step 1, step 2 is a checklist, and then doing it for the next one, I found that insanely helpful. Like on the Final Frontier videos, I've been going through module 1. And there's, gosh, I think like 36 videos. What I've been doing is, it was initially to help out the members because there's just so many videos out there, just so much information it's like chasing a cat. So I ended up doing these cliff notes inside the description of the video. So by doing that, now I've been helping other people, but more importantly, as a side benefit, been helping myself.
Yes.
So it's like, oh wow, this can fall into a process, and you start to see patterns evolving. And once you understand the thought process that people like Mark and Brian and Matt have, you kind of absorb that same process, or the same thought process by osmosis. It's amazing. It's amazing how that works.
It's not that complicated, although there's a lot of information out there. Once you understand what Google is wanting you to do,
Right.
then it's just a pattern. Like medicine is pattern recognition, right? People think becoming a doctor is all really tough, and it is really tough. But at the end of the day, medicine just comes back to pattern recognition. So
right.
It's the same thing.
You know what I found also? It feels like you're somehow cheating when you're doing some of this stuff and you're outsourcing. Like, oh my gosh! Because if you come from a job mindset where you're trading hours for dollars or pounds or whatever, you feel like, well, I'm pulling in 1,000, 2,000 a month from this client, but I've only worked myself 1 hour this month on that client. And it feels weird at first. Honestly, when I did that, it was so weird. Like, I felt like I should be working more time, but I wasn't. And that's when it made sense to me that, I might not be spending the same amount of hours myself, but someone else is. They've done it better than I can, for in much less time than I can, and the job is done really well.
But
And
you
that's when
do
it
it,
clicked for me.
and you build the system, right? So somebody is paying you and entrusting you to manage a system, right? They're paying for a result. They're not paying for time.
Exactly.
And you gotta really envision it that way, that I have a system that delivers consistently, repeatably, easily, and that's what you're paying for.
Yeah. So Jesse has a question. She
Yep.
says, do you have certain qualifying questions you ask when a potential client requests information from your website? So I'm assuming that's like a lead coming in. Is that right, Jesse?
So something like a cotton grammar where you're qualifying somebody to talk to you. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. He said yes.
yeah. So positioning like that is really important. So I've moved away from using my website was deliveringcustomers.com. It was the website we set up 6 years ago or 5 years ago for this search engine optimization. I don't use that website to bring in clients anymore. Um, Usually, what I'm doing is I'm taking a strategy of positioning, um, and my optimization generally happens by pulling together something like a tripwire offer specifically for a market niche, and I will have a number of clients in that niche, and I'm driving them to a video, I'm educating them, and then I'm giving them, this is what you need to do, step one, step two, step three, step four, almost like I'm giving them the cheat guide. And then at the end of the video, I offer them the done for you service at a ridiculously low price. So one example of that would be a lead magnet. Um, I've disclosed this one already. I do a lot, but let's just use kitchen renovations as an example. So I may go to Kitchen Renovator and say, you're in the business of kitchen renovations. You know that you get X amount of people coming to your site. We know from looking at traffic that 3 to 5% of your traffic is calling you. The other 97% is falling off. You're not capturing anything because every call to action on your page is driven to buy now. Whether that's come to our showroom, book your design consult, call our office, so on and so forth. It's all for the buy now market. So if you have something like, here are the 7 things you should know before hiring a kitchen renovation company, you're starting to go to the research market. So we educate them on how to tap into that research market and how they can start to cultivate leads in that research market. Those people are certainly interested in having a kitchen renovation, but they're not willing to do it today. We teach them how to use those leads and educate them to become better buyers of the service. And if you get to frame the buying decision, you're able to really change the conversation, right? So we build out a full autoresponder sequence for them, something along the lines of, here's the latest job we did, and it shows them before and after pictures. Here's, Sandy, one of our designers on site, and here's the before and here's the after. Here's our demo crew and demonstrating that we clean up at the end of the job. So we go through that whole kind of lead magnet for them and show them how they can do it, and then we offer that service as a tripwire offer. Could be $49, could be $99 to set it up, where it would be ridiculous for them not to take it. And we call that our lead product. And then I have a bunch of products in the back end where we make our margins. So that's how I do it.
Hmm. Yeah, Jesse asked as a follow-on to that, is that it sounds like everything is pretty much automated.
Um, so I only want to get on the phone to close. I don't want to talk to people in terms of trying to convince them. I've had people call me and they'll be like, oh, they're trying to like,
Questions? No.
well, I want people to come to me as buyers, right? I don't want to spend my time trying to convince somebody, or even worse, they're trying to play me against the next guy. I always tell them the same thing. If you want to compare me to somebody offshore, There's no comparison. There's no comparison in what you're going to
Yeah.
get, but there's no
Right.
comparison.
Exactly. Yep. Yep.
So I use the positioning less as a form on a website and more by demonstrating value up front and then bringing them through a sales process pretty much automated. And by the time they pull the trigger on the lead magnet, then they have to talk to us. Then our system is set up to wow them. And then it's much easier on the back end to sell them back end products because they won't price shop you on the back end.
Right. Awesome. I just realized something here that I know there's another webinar coming up that I think it's the LCT SEO Recon.
No, they canceled it.
Oh, they did? Oh, all right.
Check with the group, but I'm pretty sure they canceled it today.
Okay. I guess I haven't been online. I think I was online first this morning and I haven't been online since then. So, oh, cool. Well, we can just drop in a few more questions if there's anyone coming up. So, oh, Deshmuck says that Recon is still on.
Oh,
Huh.
okay. I thought I saw Matt post today that he had canceled it, but I could be wrong.
Let me ping these guys real quick. So there's a question came in. Let's see. Patrick was saying, yeah, build funnels and not an agency website as a comment. So let me just go ahead and ping Matt. Why won't this work? Go ahead and just ramble on.
Well, I mean, in terms of my opinion right now, I like to differentiate myself, so I think building the funnel is the way to go. It's really hard to differentiate yourself just purely on a website. I've talked to a number of people who have done it. So if you're ranking #1 in your city for SEO, you're going to get leads from it for sure, but your client is looking for SEO, so they're going to be shopping for it. I like to take a different approach. I like to come to them as somebody who can add value in their business. So more as a consultant with an automated process where I'm selling a done-for-you service and my lead product's never SEO. So I don't even pitch SEO as a first product. It's just too long to give results in your first deal when you're working with a new client. You want to establish trust. So one of the ways I establish trust is I try to pick something that I know I'm going to be able to deliver on time and wow them. So generally what I'm pitching as a first product, I can deliver without having to rely on Google to do anything.
Right. Okay, good deal. I haven't heard back from these guys yet. So it's not Webby, Facebook Live. Okay, so I don't quite understand. Mr. Schmuck. Who is Mr. Schmuck? What if it's like someone like Joe? It's this, not Webby, Facebook Live. Facebook Live to answer any questions you might have about the upcoming LCT boot. Oh, it's a Facebook Live hangout. Okay, that's different. Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Schmuck. I want to figure out who you are. Who is that person? I want to figure out who you are. All right, we've got some interesting people. Stuart, I know your time is valuable. I mean, I can't tell you how much I appreciate the work that you've done for the group and with the cheat guides. I dropped in the links to your group, and I dropped a link to your Facebook page. I mean, there's way over 3,000 people in that group now. Yeah, people dropping in. Thank you. One question they had is, what kind of lead magnets do you sell up front?
So one definitely is when I say I sell lead magnets, I'm selling the process. So I'm going into specific niches like kitchen renovation, and I am putting together the whole process for them. So I'm giving them the download PDF. I'm giving them the banner. I'm giving them the autoresponder sequence in the background. That is my lead magnet or a tripwire offer. So I sell that. Another one we've used is Grade Us, where we're offering a review. It's kind of like an interface between the client's website or their clients and something like Google review or Yelp. So what it does is it allows their clients to click on a button. It lets them grade whether they're going to give a 5-star or 4-star. And if they pick 5-star or 4-star, it sends them right through to the review site. If they pick 3-star or below, it pops up a window and asks them to give the review there, and that gets emailed to the owner. So what it does is it doesn't prevent them from going to Google on its own, but it gives the owner of the business an opportunity to respond and rectify whatever that situation is without having that posted to a Yelp or a Google review.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Okay.
another service that we've sold up front. Um, those are probably two that I'd be willing to disclose pretty openly. Some of the things we used to do a done for you service for Google My Business when it was a 7-pack. Now that it's a 3-pack, it's a little bit more competitive. You still could do it in less competitive industries, and then you really you have your process pretty. Pretty automated with VAs. The problem with it is there's just a time delay,
Yeah.
right? So I prefer doing things where you can go in, right? You can go in and set up social syndication. You could set up an IFTT, where they post a blog and it goes to all their social networks. That stuff's really easy for probably everyone in the group. But for a business owner who A, doesn't have time, or B, doesn't understand how that works, if you go in and say, hey, I'm going to do that for you for $29.99 and you get your VA to do it for $5,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now all of a sudden you've established rapport with that business owner, you've delivered, you've over-delivered. It's a lot easier to go in then and say, hey, I've looked at your site and you're not mobile friendly. That becomes a back-end product. Or do you know that you don't have a Google My Business? That becomes a back-end product. So, you're kind of taking the position of helping them. I don't pitch people stuff that isn't going to be beneficial to them, but I try to give them something that's hard to say no to up front, and then, analyze their business and then help them by selling them back-end products where I'm not competing on price.
Right. Awesome. Awesome. All right, I think I'm going to wrap this up here.
Perfect.
There is an LCT live to go through the boot camp. I think Rob Panay is going to be talking about some of the. I mean, I've seen some stuff behind the scenes of LCT boot camp. It's incredible. It kind of dovetails into what we've been discussing here today. It's all about taking action. But Stuart, I want to thank you for taking your time out here and all the value that you provide to the community. It's just amazing how much you give, and I know it's helped me, and if it's helped me, then it's helped a bunch of other people. All these people are dropping in thanks and just appreciate everything that you're doing for the community here, and this amazing, incredible presentation that you laid for us today. So hopefully this will help you guys move through the next obstacle, move from a 1 to a 2 up to a 4, where you can get more done in less time. But yeah, Stuart, any closing words?
I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks a lot for having me on, and hopefully everybody got something out of it. And definitely, if you have any questions, feel free to PM me on Facebook. Always happy to chat.
Yeah, and they're asking again, can you ask questions? So yeah, drop them in the Cheat Guides group or into LPB. I think you're in LCT pretty actively as well. I mean, you're
Yeah, great.
everywhere.
Just ping me. If you're posting an LCT, you can just ping me and I'll definitely answer it. Or come in SEO Cheat Guides, ping me there and I'll answer it. Or you can PM me directly on Facebook. However you want to get in contact, I'll definitely get back.
Awesome. All right, everyone, thanks for your time. Go off and have an amazing week. We'll see you all next week. Thanks, Stuart. Thanks, everyone.